kick it on. There it goes.
You have a question there, you say time.
After us, Scott City.
Oh.
Exactly. That's our old coach.
Are you kidding?
Yeah, yeah,
Oh my gosh.
yeah,
Are you gonna stay and watch?
I'm sure we will.
Oh yeah, good.
Yeah, because Cody.
That's right. And now he's out at Scott City.
He'll be here later.
Sarah is out.
Oh, Sarah.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
Sarah is, yeah.
He got tracked.
Thank you very much.
Well, we're gonna go ahead and get started. I think what we're gonna do is we're gonna have, meetings moved, every month, which is surprise you with them, because we've got more people joining us. Appreciate all you being here tonight.
I need,
I apologize up front, I am fighting the crud here, so I'm gonna stay at the front of the
I
room.
need to go
I'll try not to cough on
zoom in on
anybody.
this.
We'll get through this as best we can. A couple of things to get started before we watch our videos. Andel's talking about an early release Thursday at 12:30, I believe, and potentially Friday, depending on if the girls win. If the girls play at 3, they'll probably do the same thing. If they don't, they won't early release. So
does that mean we have to run a route?
well, normally when we've released high school kids, we haven't run routes. What we've done is we've said anybody who doesn't have a ride home, can't get home, stays with the school and rides regular routes. However, I don't know that we've ever done that in Andale. I know we've done that in Garden Plain, and we just don't have many kids that ride the bus down here.
We usually know.
I don't know, I think we have more kids that ride at Andale than we would, down here. So I just tried to call, Mrs. Shackelford to see what she wanted to do. Because we would have time to run a quick route. I wouldn't wanna do it on every bus. We might do a condensed route where somebody, we put two or three Suburbans or 2 or 3, depending on the number of kids, what we do. So, that's what we've done in the past,
Just tell them.
what we've done in the past.
Can't
So,
find the right post.
I'll talk to her and see what the plan is, but I just wanted to give you a heads up. If it's
Yeah, they
normal
usually
routes,
do.
we'll still stop at the high school. If we don't run any early, we'll still stop at the high school, because we've gotta pick those kids up to make sure everybody gets home. So, transportation supervisor position, we actually have 5 apps today, as of this morning, or this afternoon, actually. So that's moving along. We probably won't have them, finalized by the board meeting next Monday. So we're probably looking after spring break, we'll probably interview and make a decision. Hopefully that person will be on board for April and May.
That would be good.
New buses. So every year when we get new buses, we have a certain criteria, just so you know up front. I kind of look to FD for that. He's the maintenance guy who knows what buses have miles, what buses run a lot of miles every year. And so he's in the process of making some decisions and making recommendations to me about where new buses are gonna go. We have 2. Those we always try to give them for the buses that go the farthest, the longest, that have the most need. So a lot of activity buses. And then we'll pass those buses that are still good buses, they're just getting more miles down through the fleet. One other thing I want to tell you is, as we get new buses, we are putting cameras on them. So we actually have 2 buses right now that have cameras, I believe 2. So we'll have 4 in the fleet with cameras, and we're going to continue to put those in. The purpose of it is twofold. Number one is to help with the he said, she said discipline side of things. It's also to protect you from those situations where maybe somebody's accusing you of something. And we've got video evidence and audio evidence of how you handle the situation. That being said, you need to make sure, as always, that you're professional in your approach, because it will be on camera, and we need to make sure that we're always handling things the way they need to be handled. Whether we have cameras on the bus or not, they should be handled that way. So, just want to give you a heads up on that. Audit. We have an audit coming up, our audit from the state. It's coming up at the end of spring break. So, Rondi, you'll need to turn in the big notebook that you keep everything in, the Monday we get back. If you could please go through that and make sure we're all caught up. I believe what they look at is last year's safety meeting documents, not this year's. I don't remember exactly. And then they check and make sure everybody's physical is up to date, your driver's license is up to date. Safety meetings, we sign you in, so we have documents of everybody that has made it and those that haven't. That's why we're putting these on the website, so we can count. You have to have 10. And so if you do miss, you'll need to watch the video. And then emergency evacuation forms are also kept track of. So please make sure, that's why we turn these into Rondi. She puts them in a nice big notebook, and then when the auditor comes, he opens them up and he just checks that we have everything. So that's coming up at the end of spring break. Sub drivers, we do have a new driver, Brenda Meese. She's out of the college or St. Mark's area. She's gone through everything and now is eligible to be a sub for a van, suburban, minibus. She is working towards getting her license as well. And there's potential that Mike will be back fairly soon as well. So that could mean 2 additional drivers by spring, which would help greatly as we get in the craziness of spring activities. We can always use new if you know of somebody willing. You think you might have somebody.
Yeah,
They're thinking?
yeah, they are.
Well, have them contact me.
Okay.
And again, I'll be reaching out to some of you about helping with passing of the written test, the safety checks, and the practice driving, the driving test. Don't like to go over this, but as we are nearing the end of the year, if you are contemplating retirement, resignation, any of those things, just make sure you give us a heads up before August. Not that I'm going to be here, but I also want to make sure we keep a good pool of drivers for the next person. I don't really have anything else. I've got 3 safety videos. They're all fairly short. They're all pretty. I guess timely, but so a couple of these are a little bit old. One is actually they're all 3 a little bit old. Driving activities is one. Obviously, we got a lot of activities going on right now and will in the spring. So that's one. And then one of the things coming up that we've talked about, tornadoes and being prepared. And this may not be applicable for some situation, but it's always good to remember you need to have some sort of plan and understand before we send you on the roads in a tornado watch, we are checking weather. Sometimes there's a window, sometimes if it's not safe, we're gonna say, we're gonna hold the buses, everybody come in. But if there's a window and we send you and things can turn bad quickly, you need to have a thought through your process. Where can I go? I know some people have talked about the St. Mary's Church, St. Joe Church, some parents' houses that you may be able to get in and out of. If you're close to any businesses, the worst thing you can do is be in a bus with kids and a tornado hit. And if not, you gotta find low-lying ground, get them out of the bus and get them all down. So that's in there. The final one is something we hope we never have on a bus, but if you need it, it's really important. That's fire extinguisher training. So you're not going to be a certified firefighter today, but you might at least see how one works.
That didn't keep you late? Did you get to see the movie and everything?
The play
Oh,
with Romeo and Juliet.
because we had the play after supper, so we didn't get home till like 8:30. When I went,
Tips for me. Just early?
mhm.
Wow, yeah, they had a 12:30.
It was fun. Got
It was Tuesday.
must have. Because the kids didn't want to see Romeo and Juliet. Yeah.
Thank you, Troy.
Wish I could.
challenges of a daily bus route. Driving an activity bus often involves a different set of challenges. With proper pre-planning, the activity can be carried out safely for all concerned. Let's take a brief look at what some of these challenges might be. You might be driving a different bus, not the one with which you are most familiar. You could be carrying a different age group than on your daily route, possibly even a mixed age crowd. The trip may take you over unfamiliar roads, where detours or other complications may be encountered. The driving time may be much longer than your usual route. You may drive at least part of the trip after dark. The trip could take you through unfamiliar cities and towns. There may be bulky equipment to transport, such as band instruments, athletic equipment, or supplies for a picnic. You'll be required to work with one or more teachers or other adults as chaperones. There's always the possibility of an emergency during the outing. You must be prepared for any contingency, such as unexpected illness or injury.
One thing I want to remind everybody, we have made changes to what we expect our adult chaperones to do on the bus, and if they're not following those guidelines, you need to let us know. You don't need to be a bad guy, you don't need to tell them where they need to be seated, but we need boys and girls split, front and back, if it's multi-gender, with a chaperone sitting in the middle, the back, and the front, if possible. If not possible, they need to be in the back. If there's only one, they need to be in the back. If there's two, they probably need to be in the back and the middle. But obviously, this is a policy that's been looked at based on the things that have gone on school buses, and just for the safety of the kids and the behavior of the kids. And so, if those things aren't happening, either let me know or let the principal know. And you can do it kindly, just say, hey, or let you know, because you don't want anything bad to happen on your bus. Because you're just as responsible as any of the other adults, even though you're 90% should be focused on driving, 97% should be focused on driving. So I just want to remind you of that. I don't know if you were aware of that or had seen it.
Get a more complete picture of what's involved. Let's follow along as George takes Mrs. Lee's 6th grade class to the park.
You want to see me? Hi, George. Yeah, I've got a field trip.
Telling us.
Miss Lee's taking her 5th grade over to the horse park. Horse park? Yeah, would you be interested in it? Well, of course, I'll be glad to take it. Okay, well, here's the folder, and you'll find all the information you might need in here. If you have any problems, just give me a holler. I sure will. Thank you. Thank you, George.
Once you have received the details of the planned activity and have a bus assigned, you can begin pre-planning for the trip. If you will be traveling in unfamiliar territory, look over a good road map and plan your route.
You can do that online now if you'd like.
The map isn't
Thank
going to
you.
warn you of construction zones and detours. Once you have your route mapped out, call the state police and local highway departments to confirm road conditions. Once you are satisfied that a good route has been planned, be prepared for any emergencies by determining the phone numbers of local police departments, hospitals, and school districts along the way. Remember, not all areas have 911 emergency phone service, and not all payphones operate without depositing a quarter. But be sure to have some emergency.
We need to go back in time. Back to the future.
Make a checklist of other special needs. For example, if the trip requires an overnight stay, you'll need some clothing and toiletries. You may need to arrange for expense money for parking, fuel, tolls, and food if necessary.
Bless you, dear.
And get a good night's rest.
One thing to remind,
Long-distance driving
if you
may
need
cause
some
accidents. This is not the
K-tags,
time watching your
we do
favorite
have some,
late-night TV
and the
show.
district office can be checked out
On the
ahead
day
of
of the
time.
field trip,
So you don't have to
your
stop and pick that
responsibility is
up.
the same as it is
If we're out of them,
every
you'll just have to
driving
stop,
day.
pick them up, and remember,
Over the bus to
you
end
get
to end,
reimbursed for that, whatever
giving
you
it a
pay.
thorough pre-trip
So,
inspection.
But
Even if
it's a
the
whole
bus
lot
is
easier with
used
the
that day,
K-tag.
don't assume that everything is all right. Be certain. The safety of you and your passengers depends on it. In addition to the regular road emergency equipment which should be carried on every bus, Place aboard a good flashlight with fresh batteries in case of a problem after dark. With your pre-trip inspection completed, it's time to pick up your passengers. A trip can start poorly if the bus arrives late. Try to get to the loading point early. Allow time to meet with the chaperones and set up some ground rules for the trip. As the driver, you are, in a sense, captain of the ship. But you'll need help to maintain order with a busload of excited, energetic young people. Establish a good relationship with the chaperones. Discuss ground rules and ask for assistance in maintaining order. Treat unacceptable student behavior as you would on a home-to-school run. Never argue with the teacher or chaperone in front of the students. If things get out of hand during the trip, stop the bus in a safe place and ask the teacher to step off so you can discuss the problem and ask for cooperation. Depending on the nature of the activity, you may be carrying cargo, such as band instruments, athletic gear, or picnic supplies. Some buses have luggage space under or on top of the bus. All gear stored on the bus must, of course, be kept out of the aisles and clear of the exit doors. And never store cargo in seats by emergency windows. Store heavy items first, as low as possible, and place lighter things on top. Nothing should extend above the top of the seat backs. As an extra safety precaution, pass ropes under the seats and fasten them around the cargo. Or enclose your cargo in a safety net. In the event of a collision or sudden stop, you don't want missiles flying around the bus. Any gear which cannot be secured must either be left behind or carried in a separate vehicle. With the assistance of chaperones, loading can be accomplished in an orderly fashion. Once passengers and gear are loaded, get the trip off to a good start by going over the rules of safe school bus riding. Remember, some of your passengers may not be regular school bus riders, including the teachers and chaperones.
My name is Mr. Duke. I'm going to be your bus driver for this trip. All right? Now, we're going to the Kentucky Horse Park, and it's going to take us approximately 3 hours. We will have one rest stop on the route. Now, there's some very basic safety rules I want you to adhere to en route. All right? Number one, stay in your seat. That's the safest spot on the bus. We'll be going out of our district, and even when you're in the district, be on your good behavior, and it reflects back on you and our school system. Now, if we was to get in a dangerous situation to where we would have to evacuate the bus, now this is very important, this is the way we would do it. If the rear door is blocked, everybody will exit out the door. Following this procedure, alternate this seat first and then this seat and so forth right out the front door. If I determine that this door is blocked, that we will go out the back door, I will so inform you, and we'll go out the rear door. Okay? Now,
All this pre-planning and preparation really does pay off. Now you're on your way with your passengers working with you to make the trip safe and enjoyable. The length of your trip may dictate a food stop. Where you park the bus is important. Select a location close to the desired facilities, but where unloading and loading can be accomplished safely. Caution passengers to remain seated until they are told otherwise. Students should be told in advance where to assemble for loading and explain that they are not to return to the bus until the entire group is together, so they can all load at once. Remind them to walk to and from facilities, keeping a sharp eye out for traffic in the area. Once the passengers are safely on their way, secure the door before leaving the bus. If you are joining the group at a meal stop, limit yourself to a light meal of healthy, digestible foods. Chicken and dumplings can rest heavy in your stomach and contribute to drowsiness while driving. At the end of the food stop, oversee reloading. In most cases, the teacher or chaperone will be in charge of roll call and head count of the returning passengers. However, you may want to maintain your own head count whenever the students exit and return to the bus as a double check. On long trips, you may be making one or more fuel stops. Follow your school system's rules regarding unloading passengers before fueling. Chaperones should keep the passengers together and under control while you oversee the fueling operation. If an attendant will be checking under the hood, watch what is being done to be sure nothing is overlooked. Be certain, too, that the correct fuel is put in the tank. This is a good time to check the tires. Follow normal pre-trip inspection procedures, including a visual check of each tire for foreign objects which could cause trouble later. This can be especially important after traveling through construction zones and detours. You finally arrived. Quiet your passengers so they can hear the instruction about such things as time schedules, assembly points, and departure plans. It may be necessary to park and reload at a different location. Make sure everyone understands where to meet to avoid any delay caused by waiting or searching for missing youngsters. However enjoyable it may be to join the group in their activity, the bus and the safety of your passengers is your first responsibility. You may be required to stay with the bus to protect it from break-in or malicious mischief, or you may choose to remain with the bus to rest for the trip home. When the group is assembled for reloading, oversee the procedure as usual, taking your own head count to compare with the chaperones. If a student is missing, follow your school district's standard procedure. This may include notifying the school authorities as well as local authorities of the situation. Once everyone is settled on board, remind them again that you need their help to assure a safe trip home. Upon arrival, take a moment to thank the group for their help in making it an enjoyable day. Remind them to gather up all their personal belongings before unloading. When unloading is completed, walk through the bus checking on and under the seats for lost articles and any signs of damage. This also assures there are no sleepers curled up on a back seat. Once you return the bus to its proper place, fill in all the paperwork necessary and your trip is complete. The biggest challenge to driving the activities bus may come in the form of traveling unfamiliar roadways. Driving on express highways may not be a part of your regular school bus route. When entering an expressway, remember that your bus picks up speed slowly. Look for a suitable gap in traffic and, when safe, accelerate smoothly into the lane using your mirrors and turn signals to help make a safe entry. In city driving, be especially watchful for vehicles coming out of drives along the roadway. Driving in rural or hilly areas presents another challenge. There is no such thing as being overcautious when driving on unfamiliar roads. You have no idea what's on the other side of the hill or around the next curve. Operate your bus within the posted speed limits, but always give consideration to weather and road conditions. Never exceed a speed that won't allow you to make a sudden stop within the distance you can see ahead of you. This is especially important when driving at night. Remember that headlights, even bright beams, place serious limits on your view of the road ahead. Watch as we travel over this stretch of road in the daylight. Take note of how far ahead of the bus the eye can see. Now, let's go over the same stretch at night. With low beams on, forward vision is severely restricted. Even the bright beams reveal far less roadway than can be seen in the daylight. And resist the temptation to keep bright lights on because an approaching driver does so. Don't watch the oncoming lights. Look instead at the edge of the roadway, steering your bus as close to it as is safe until you pass the offending vehicle. So there you have it, the assignment, pre-planning, and execution of a safe and enjoyable field trip. As a professional school bus driver, you can make the difference when you know how to effectively handle the responsibilities of driving an activities bus.
And while I know you're probably not gonna be making any calls on a payphone, there are some tips in there that I think are worth repeating. One is the pre-planning. You know, we've had lots of conversations through the years about, well, you know, I don't know where I'm going. I didn't know I was gonna go where the field is compared to, you know, especially with baseball and softball. Those fields tend to sometimes not be at the location, potentially football as well. But that would be one that you need to make sure that you're in contact with our AD ahead of time, because the coach has got a lot of other things on their mind. They probably aren't even gonna look it up, to be honest with you. So make sure you're checking with your ADs. The second is communication. So obviously, back to planning, you know, you're not gonna have the map on the wall and call the state troopers. You're going to get on the internet and you're gonna Google map it and do your driving. I think you can even check and see if there's any road closures or tolls or anything on there these days. But the second thing is communicating with the supervisors, the teachers, the coaches, letting them know if you've got concerns with kids. I did like the fact they said, don't argue with a sponsor in front of the kids. It's the last thing that anybody wants and or needs. So if you have a problem with, what's going on, talk quietly to the sponsor, ask for assistance. If you need to pull over, stop and have a quick powwow outside the bus, that's fine. But hopefully it's not so bad that you can't deal with it once you get back and just say, you know, on my bus, this is what the expectations are. And our expectations should be the same on all buses, quite honestly. Night driving is one of the biggest concerns that I have, especially late at night on some of our longer trips, especially county roads. I remember being on a bus being scared to death because fog and weather was pretty bad, and interior was defrosting, had a bunch of sweaty boys on there, and you know, those are all factors that you guys are dealing with, and you know them better than I do because I'm not out there driving them. So anyway, go ahead, Lynn. Second one is the tornado. I'm just going to warn you. I previewed this one as well, and there's several. This looks like maybe a late '70s, '80s, with the mustaches and the wardrobe and the poofy hair. So when I signed up for these, it doesn't say when it's made. I just thought I would try some different ones that we hadn't seen. I didn't realize I was going to get older ones.
I thought for sure we had to do a tornado drill down there. They didn't do it.
Siren.
They're supposed to be on 10 o'clock. Oh, it's a pretty little butterfly. There you
Spring.
go.
It almost feels like life starts over. New leaves, flowers, crops. We can get outside more often now, and the days are longer. After work, we can enjoy the family, fish, golf, play a little softball, or get some of those home repairs completed. The ones we didn't finish last year. But along with the changes in weather and activity on the ground, high up in the atmosphere, the jet stream is moving about. Cold fronts and warm fronts are developing. Warm, moist air is moving up from the Gulf of Mexico. Large thunder clouds can now be seen forming. And in the Great Plains area, a squall line is forming ahead of a low-level cold front and under a surface of cold air. These conditions all signal the potential development of one of nature's most localized destructive forces, tornadoes. Tornadoes are a violent, rotating column of air suspended from a cumulonimbus cloud. While suspended over water, it is called a waterspout. If it doesn't touch down at all, it's called a frontal cloud. Inside the rotating air created by centrifugal force, there is a partial vacuum. And it's the combined twisting of air and reduced air pressure that produces our tornado's extremely destructive force. More tornadoes occur in the central United States than any other place in the world. However, they have occurred in every state. Tornadoes are extremely destructive. An occurrence in 1925 in the three-state area of Illinois, Indiana, and Missouri killed 695 persons and injured another 2,000. It caused $43 million in property damage. In 1925, communications were not as sophisticated as today, and more than likely, many persons were not aware of the tornado until it was very close by. Tornadoes travel at an average speed of about 30 miles an hour, but forward speeds to 70 miles an hour have been reported. Sometimes the tornado funnel may be obscured by rain or clouds, while other times it may be visible from a distance of 5 to 10 miles away. From the time you sight a tornado headed your way until it strikes you is usually less than 5 minutes. And if you hear the high-pitched whining noise of the tornado, you only have a few moments to find the safest shelter available. In the face of such a powerful, uncontrollable force, what should you do? Well, that depends upon your tornado safety preparedness, along with where you are when you sight one. Generally speaking, we all can be found in one of several
locations most of our lives, at home, on the job, or participating in some form of recreation. The fourth location we all find ourselves in is traffic, trying to get from one place to another. Tornadoes can touch down while we are in any one of these locations, and we need to know what to do to increase our chances of surviving a tornado. Unlike hurricanes, which are tracked for days by the National Weather Service and other governmental agencies, tornadoes can form in a very short period of time. Tornadoes can also develop in hurricane conditions. This afternoon cookout is one of many spring and summertime activities. The chicken is on the grill. The family is enjoying itself. And then you hear the alert.
The National Severe Storms Forecast Center has issued a tornado watch for the southern and central portions of our state and much of the state's line.
The first alert to be issued for a tornado. It tells you the potential areas that will be affected and the time frame in which a tornado can form. When this alert is issued, you don't have to interrupt your normal activities, but you should stay tuned to radio and TV for further information, as well as keep an eye out for threatening weather. Down at the local plant, everyone has been told of the National Weather Service's Tornado Watch alert, and the front office is listening to the Weather Service for any further developments.
Issued a tornado watch for our service area effective for the next.
The company team is having an afternoon game and not paying too much attention to the weather conditions. If you have received the National Weather Service's tornado warning either on their continuous weather service or over regular broadcast service, your chances of survival are better. A life-saving feature found on many weather radios is an alert function. This function allows the radio to be in the off position, but when the National Weather Service sends a signal, your radio sounds an alarm, alerting you that a severe weather bulletin is to be issued, and you should listen. Because being forewarned and knowing and understanding the deadly force, plus the unpredictability of tornadoes, is part of the safety awareness needed to increase your chances of survival. There are precautionary measures that we need to take. If you're at home when the watch alert comes, or suspect that weather conditions are ripe for a tornado, you should review your plan of action with every member of the household. If there is a basement in your home, this offers the greatest amount of protection. Other better locations include small interior rooms with the least number of windows. And you should always try to get as many walls between you and the tornado as possible. Bathrooms and under stairwells can be good places to take shelter. Their friends live in a mobile home and are making preparations to go to the community shelter in the event the alert is upgraded. Mobile homes are not safe in a tornado, just as campers and motor homes are not.
The National Weather Service has issued a tornado warning for the southern and central portions of our state and much of the state lying east of us. In effect until 10 p.m. tonight.
The tornado spotted in Smith County has a maximum wind speed of over 100 miles an hour and reportedly is heading toward the north at 20 miles an hour.
This is a warning to all motorists. A tornado moving about 20 miles an hour has just been sighted in Smith County and is headed north. There is an official tornado warning in effect until 10 p.m. tonight. You should take immediate safety precautions. Automobiles are not safe in a tornado. I repeat, this is a warning to all you motorists out there.
A tornado warning is issued when a tornado has been sighted or indicated on radar. It gives you times and locations of sightings and the anticipated path and length of time it probably will take the tornado to pass through that area. It also means that you should be prepared to seek shelter at any moment. If your company has a tornado emergency plan, you should follow it. Some companies even have built special structures for events such as these. Other good places to take refuge are in the basement or on the lowest floor, away from windows, and in the strongest portion of the building. Interior walls also furnish some protection, and you should crouch down facing the wall, protecting your head with your hands. If you have a hard hat and safety glasses, be sure to wear them. Do not attempt to flee in vehicles and avoid any parked cars. Also, avoid auditoriums, gymnasiums, upper stories of office buildings, and poorly supported roofs, and all large glass windows. Staying away from windows is also a good idea if you're out shopping and a tornado warning is issued. Locate sturdy counters and be prepared to take shelter there. You should not get in your parked vehicle or take shelter near parked cars. Motor vehicles do not offer shelter from tornadoes. The wind can pick them up or blow them over, smashing you and the vehicle. But if you are in your vehicle when you sight a tornado, you may be able to outrun it by driving at right angles to its direction of travel. This is purely a judgment call on your part. Be aware, though, that if you can't determine an escape route, or the tornado is extremely close, you should take shelter immediately in a low ditch or ravine, and lay flat to present the least amount of resistance to the wind. While in ditches or ravines, be aware of flash flooding that can occur. Also be aware of poisonous snakes and other hazards that might be present. The family now believes that there is a good chance of the tornado touching down in their neighborhood. The last weather bulletin placed the tornado about a mile from their home. They have crouched low against the lower level interior wall, and each member has their head covered with rugs or other objects that offer some protection against flying glass. They have taken their flashlight with them, and since they use natural gas in their home, everyone knows not to depend on candles or other open flames for any needed illumination. Ruptured gas lines present additional danger. All they can do now is wait for the tornado to determine its path and hope it misses them. Over in the plant, everyone has reported to the designated area for tornado protection. All they can do is wait. The community shelter at the mobile home neighborhood is battened down for the worst. All they can do is wait. Even though the National Weather Service has issued a tornado warning, many did not get the word. They have just sighted the tornado and now must seek immediate shelter away from their vehicle. Several take to ditches, under overpasses, and under culverts. Time is getting short for survival.
605 for Columbus service. Where you guys been trying to raise it for the last 30 minutes with the tornado warning in effect.
We've been away from the truck for a while.
You need to take cover right now.
How much time do we have? I'll see you now.
This time, the tornado missed our town. Others weren't so lucky. Before the tornado blew itself out, it destroyed this neighborhood, this town, these people's lives. It will take millions of dollars to replace the property. Personal belongings having sentimental attachments will never be replaced. Tornadoes can't be controlled. All we can do is make sure we take all the necessary precautionary measures before they strike. Start by understanding the tornado alert system. A tornado watch means that weather conditions could produce a tornado. A tornado warning is issued when a tornado has been sighted or indicated on radar. The National Weather Service will give you the locations and times covered by tornado watches and warnings. At home, research the safest place for tornado protection. If you don't have a basement or cellar, pick an interior wall with the minimum number of windows. Cover your head and keep a battery-operated radio ready. If you live in a mobile home, go to the community shelter or other secure building. If that's not available, Take shelter in low protected areas away from the home. Mobile homes, campers, and motorhomes are very unsafe in tornadoes. No matter where you are, avoid using candles or any other open flames for illumination. While at work, follow your company's emergency tornado plan. Locate an interior wall and crouch down while protecting your head with your hands. If you are in a vehicle on the highway and can't outmaneuver the tornado, take shelter in ditches, ravines, culverts, or overpasses. Stay away from all parked vehicles. They are not safe in tornado winds. If you are outside, either working or relaxing, find shelter immediately. And if that's not possible, seek low areas and lie flat to present the least amount of resistance to the wind. Tornadoes, like other forces in nature, can't be controlled. Remember, the safest place in the event of a tornado is in the basement of a steel-reinforced building. Storm shelter, tunnels, root cellars, bank vaults, and underground parking lots. To increase our chance of survival and reduce personal injury, we must take proper precautionary measures before the moment of disaster arrives. Tornadoes can occur at any time during the year or any part of the country. Now is the time to learn the safety precautions necessary for your safety. Don't let the sound of an approaching tornado catch you and your family unprepared. A tornado can destroy an entire town in a matter of minutes. Wipe out everything you have worked for in seconds. Take the necessary steps to protect yourself now. Tomorrow could be too late.
Has everybody seen the video of the, that's a little more relevant, the school bus, where the driver was able to get the kids out? But they showed did we show that one time in here?
I think so.
I always saw one, yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty powerful. I'm gonna pull it up for those that haven't seen it. It's only about 2
Today
minutes
is a
long.
workday like most days for Angel Perry as she drives her school bus through the streets of Louisville, Indiana. But on March 2nd, 2012, her day was anything but routine. That's when an 8F4 tornado barreled towards her bus, filled with 11 school children. Ironically, all were headed home early to beat the threat of severe weather.
Took a moment and prayed and headed back to the school, which I thought would be the safest spot for us and the children.
So she's talking to them as they're getting there, so she doesn't have to tell them what to do later.
Calmly led the 11 children in her care off her bus and into safety.
Approximately 45 seconds to a minute after she got all the kids in the school and in the safe location, the first wave of winds and damage occurred.
Angel joined almost 40 others inside who sheltered safely as the tornado tore through the school. The bus she and the children had just left moments before was ripped to pieces by debris and thrown hundreds of yards into a nearby diner.
We come out at the restaurant, got up here under the power lines, looked in there, I didn't see nobody. Anybody could have been killed in this tornado, but no kid was hurt, thank God. It's just a miracle.
to see that one. So, long and short, we're gonna finish with that one. But, you know, some of it is, that, you can't always plan. You can't have a scripted plan for everything you're gonna do. You're gonna have to sometimes use your best judgment. You're gonna have to make decisive decisions and move with it. But if you have at least had a thought process, if you have a couple parents on the route that you think, hey, maybe I'll talk to them, if there's an emergency, maybe I can go to their house. But doing some of that preparation ahead of time, I think is good. But again, you're gonna get in the middle of it, and you're gonna have to make a decision in that kind of situation, and it's gotta be a split-second decision. And, you know, you're gonna have time to pull out a safety handbook. But if you've at least thought through it, you'll have some ideas of maybe what you can do, so. Any questions before we call it an evening? All right, have a good one, thank you.